Shalom. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. We hope, we pray that everybody is well and will be better. This is your brother and friend, Yeshaya Yisrael. If I can be heard well and the people are in good spirits, we ask you to press the number 4. If I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, we ask you to press the number 4. Shalom, my brother Bergen Paris. Shalom, my older brother in spirit, it's all good. Again, we hope, we pray that everybody is well and will be better. In this presentation, brothers and sisters, we want to get into the matter and address the matter of, as it's called, from Isaiah to the Asiento. And there is a lot of history that is covered in this. There is a lot of dates that we will be speaking of and going over. I asked for those who do know the telephone number, if the audio hopefully doesn't act up negatively, but please text me or find a way, if possible, to let me know such is the case. Brothers and sisters, we hope, we pray that everybody, again, as stated, is well and will be better. When you don't have, and I'm speaking in general, When you don't have anything to say, the best thing to say is either one or two things, nothing or something that is enlightening and uplifting. And it is very true, as the saying goes, that the idle mind is the devil's workshop. When there is nothing that is going on, when there is no productivity, when there is no growth, the only thing that can set in that particular mindset is demonic, is satanic, is wicked, is unthoughtful, or unprofitable. And so, as we were going over earlier about being fruitful and multiplying and growing and things of that nature, and the meaning of the word Ephraim, meaning doubly fruitful, and things, excuse me, and things of that kind of nature. In going over, say, that kind of nature, the opposite of that is things that are not fruitful, or things that are not productive. And in order to be fruitful and productive, you may need assistance in that particular manner. And it doesn't make anyone a bad person for such. I told my little princess, unlike what is told in many times in society today, you're not entitled to anything. You shouldn't feel entitled. But I teach her and taught her that is to say the opposite. She is entitled. She's entitled to respect, to love, and trust. And as much as she is entitled to that, she is also obligated to give love, respect, and trust. See, when you just tell somebody that you're not essentially eligible or should have to feel happy to receive, just certain things like that, love, trust, respect, that person is not going to understand how to give that. And we want to sit there and address that in the beginning of these kind of presentations at times. So, brothers and sisters, as we get into this, we're going to do the share screen, if we will. Again, hoping and praying that everybody is well and will be better. All right, this is, brothers and sisters, 40 slides, if we will. Screenshots are welcome, and we ask you to read along and use your scriptures along with such. All right, thank you for that, family, and say that particular case. We are on the platforms More Yeshaya Torah lessons, More Yeshaya history lessons, and More Yeshaya history lessons part 2. All right, for reference purposes. And thank you for that, family. Giving honor to the creator of heaven and earth. This presentation is done on the platforms Yeshaya Author Danite and More Yeshaya history lessons. We ask you all to get your pens, pads, and take notes. I can be reached at 908-587-4841. Again, that telephone number is 908-587-4841. The email is yyisrael22@yahoo.com. For those who do care to donate, brothers and sisters, it is Cash App, $ MOREH23, $ MOREH23. Thank you for that, family. Daniel chapter 7, verse 9. I beheld two thrones were cast down, and one that was ancient of days did sit. His raiment was as white snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was fiery flames, and the wheel thereof burning fire. Now, earlier in this week or last week, depends on how you look at it, with Saturday night, quote unquote, starting a new week for the first day of the week, brothers and sisters, we went over a part in this in the book of Daniel. And one of the things that we were saying is that when you see in Daniel 7, verse 9, it is basically speaking upon an anthropomorphic matter of human beings speaking of their maker. So when we say that the face of God or the eyes of God or the hand of God, those are us, we were humans, giving human attributes to our maker. And that is what we see here in this particular case. All right. So that is not to per se say like a man the Most High has here or other parts that us as males or human beings have. What we are seeing is that it says that the hair of his head was like pure wool. Now, when we look at the but let me see if I can be heard well, or what was the last thing that was heard. All right. Let's pull this back up if we will. Does it come back up? Yes, it does. All right, family. For those who are in the chat, was one able to be heard, or is one currently able to be heard? Let me know. Let's, brothers and sisters, start from this slide right here, if we will. Thank you for that, family. This right here in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 9 says this: I beheld the thrones were cast down, and one that was ancient of days did sit. His raiment was as white snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was fiery flames, and the wheels thereof burning fire. So again, brothers and sisters, this is speaking upon, say, a matter, as we have discussed, anthropomorphism. That is to say, human beings, creation, given our attributes to our maker, such as saying the face of God or the eyes of God or so forth. Now, it says in this that the hair of his head was like pure wool. Now, with this lux racist kind of matter that they're trying to show on the right-hand side, one of the things that it says, it won't shrink wool. Now, I don't know if they realized what they perhaps was saying to some who are going to be reading or studying things later on, but who is shown with hair like pure wool, even according to that. So while trying to be perhaps disrespectful, you may have not realized what in part were you actually saying too. So just want to point that out, if we will. Thank you for that, family. It goes on to say, a matter on scattering and scattered. Let's understand that Deuteronomy 28:68 starts with the word and. This means we have to see that Israel was scattered in verse 64. Then we see the words about the matter of the ships being used. So let's look, brothers and sisters, at this particular matter. If we were to, brothers and sisters, all right, go into this particular matter right here, and we go to Deuteronomy 28, right? And let's see what we can ascertain in this. And let's read, brothers and sisters, from verse 64. From verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt in ships, by the way whereof I said unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. In other words, when Israel left out of the captivity in, quote, the first Egypt, they were not supposed to return back to ever the captivity. And there you shall sell your servants unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Now, we have been teaching for quite some time as Israelites that this is speaking upon the matter of what is referred to in history as the Atlantic slave trade, as is also taught upon this platform. When this became more knowledgeable to other races or other peoples, other nationalities, online, if you will, that Israelites have been teaching what this verse is about in this particular case. We have heard things such as saying, oh, it's only talking about Israel and Rome from verse 48 all the way to the end of it, because their goal and their mission is to annihilate the existence of Israel from 70 AD matter, if you will. And so, but we run into a problem to think that from Deuteronomy 28, verse 48 to verse 68 is only talking about Israel and Rome. When we go to verse 64, it says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all peoples, from the one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth. So if verse 64 of Deuteronomy 28 is speaking about Israel being scattered by the Most High from the one end of the earth to the other, how can these verses be marginalized to speaking upon the matter of only Israelites in Rome? It goes on to say, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers, meaning you nor Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, your fathers, even wood and stone. So what is Deuteronomy 28:64 talking about is a matter of saying that Israel is going to be scattered from one end of the earth to the other. And after being scattered from one end of the earth to the other, Israel was going to be worshiping idols. Part of the scattering was going to be done, brothers and sisters, by way of ships. We have gone over in this particular case, right? In this particular platform, the word here, Mizraim ba'aniyot, as we've explained that ayim, brothers and sisters, means dual or whatever is connected to the word. So if we were to take in Hebrew, brothers and sisters, the mem, the zadeh, and the resh, what can we ascertain and gather from that? Let's go, if we will, remembering that, brothers and sisters, and we do, okay, it's going to be more than 40 PowerPoints, but let's look at this word right here. Let's take this word right here, right? Copy, and if we pull this up, brothers and sisters, right? We see this word here, Mizraim, is generally and understood to be translated as Egypt. Now we see that in Deuteronomy 28:68. And let us go, if we will, brothers and sisters, into the scriptures in the book of Lamentations. All right. And let's see what we can ascertain and gather in that particular case. All right. All right. Thank you for that, family, with the time in that particular case. Now, in Lamentations chapter 1, verse 3, we see this. Judah is going into exile because of affliction and because of great servitude. She dwelleth among the nations. She findeth no rest. All the pursuers overtook her within the straits. Now, in the Hebrew, we see this here. The part that says translated as within the straits, brothers and sisters, is said in the Hebrew as we're going to show here, Bein Hamzarim. All right. Now we see Mem Zadeh Resh Yod Mem. And we see on above that, Mem Zadeh Resh Yod Mem. Now in Deuteronomy 28:68, we see that Mizraim is translated as the word Egypt. Now, when we go to Lamentations chapter 1, verse 3, we see the word Mizraim said as Mizdarim is translated as straits. So this is something we care to point out for reference purposes. So brothers and sisters, what is, if we will, the definition of the word straight as seen in Lamentations? All right, let's see. All right, straight translation is this, right? That's not the thing I was trying to type. Not that straight. Sorry about that, family. It says this. The English word straight has two main meanings, and the Spanish translation depends on context. All right, so we're going to continue to read on and let's see. Yeah, we're going to not deal with it from the matter of Spanish, brothers and sisters, but from English. Straight translation in English. Not translation. Maybe I should have put definition. I'm so sorry, family. Straight translation, definition, sorry. And let's see what we can ascertain. A narrow passage of water connecting two seas or two other large areas, used in reference to a situation characterized by a special degree of trouble or difficulty. So, brothers and sisters, right? If we were to take that definition, in this particular case, in the word straight, as seen in the book of Lamentations, chapter 1, verse 3, thank you, my brother, for typing that in, right? It means it's used in reference to a situation characterized by a specified degree of trouble or difficulty. Now, brothers and sisters, as we get further into this particular matter with the language, what else can we ascertain? Let's go, if we will, family, into the inner book speak, right? We want to, brothers and sisters, go into Psalms 118. Psalms 118, Hebrew. And let's see what we can ascertain in this particular case, right? Psalms 118, it says in verse 5, out of my straits I called upon Yah. He answered me with a great enlargement. Now, what is this saying in verse 5? Right? The Hebrew says, min ha mezar Yah anani bamerkab Yah. So what can we ascertain in looking at this? All right. Min ha mezar. Now let's copy and look at this from a Hebraic perspective, and let's see what we see in this particular matter. Right? Mezar is translated, brothers and sisters, as what? Out of my straits. And we already see here the definition of the word straight, even in English. So what is the distinction, brothers and sisters, between the mem zadeh resh yod mem that we see in Deuteronomy 28:68 and the hamzarim translated as the straits, as the hey mem zadeh resh yod mem, and then we see the hey mem zadeh resh. Now we've gone over earlier with the word Ephraim about it meaning dual plural, the ayin, sifatayim, lips, because you got two lips. All right, machanayim, two camps. All right, whereas the word for camps by itself is machanot. All right, so just want to point that out and say that particular case. So if I can be heard well, family, and people are in good spirits, please, we ask you to type in the number 4. And thank you for those who helped me get into the audio and so forth, the moderator and everything. It definitely is appreciated. So let's look at this, brothers and sisters, and get into this. It says about the definition of the word straight, about trouble. So now let us go, if we will, brothers and sisters, right, and let the book speak. If we were to go to, all right, the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, what do we see in this particular case? Isaiah, chapter 30, all right, in the Hebrew. And let's see what we can ascertain. Thank you for that in that particular case. Right? Isaiah chapter 30, verse 6 says this: the burden of the beasts of the south through the land of trouble and anguish, from whence came the lioness and the lion, the viper and flying serpent. They carry their riches upon their shoulders of young donkeys, and their treasures upon the humps of camels, to a people that shall not profit them. So what is this saying in this? In Isaiah chapter 30, verse 6, right? It says, the burden of the beasts of the south through the land of trouble and anguish. So now let's look. In the Hebrew, it says, Masa Bahamot Negeb. The burden of the beast. Bahamot means beast. All right. Negeb means south. Eretz Zara. Now let's look at this right here, brothers and sisters, then recopy and paste it. Now this is from, again, Isaiah chapter 30, verse 6. Eretz Zara. Those two words in the Hebrew translate to English as the land of trouble. So where are we going in this particular matter? We are saying that the Egypt in Deuteronomy 28, verse 68 is not a translation correctly. Egypt does not linguistically connect with the Hebrew word Mizraim, though it, yes, was and is the same place geographically. The Israelites called it that because of the situations they were dealing with, as we went over earlier on Mora Yeshaya Hebrew lesson. There's a reason why Joseph named his children Manasseh and Ephraim, if we will. All right. So just as much as that was the case, so was the case of Israel naming the land of their bondage the word Mizraim. So now, if we know that Ayim is dual plural, Bain Hamzarim, as seen in the book of Lamentations, Meitzar, out of my straits, out of my trouble, as we see in the book of Psalms 118, verse 5. And then we see this word here, Zara. The word Zara meaning trouble. What we've done and shown, brothers and sisters, is you got Zara, Meitzar. What you've done with the word Meitzar is you put the mem as a prefix, as shown there with the backdrop yellow, which means in this case, straits, as opposed to the word Zara, brothers and sisters, shown, if we will, with the backdrop of green, meaning trouble. So now when we look at Mizraim, as seen in Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, right, with the backdrop of blue, that word should properly be translated from the Hebrew as the word double straits or double trouble, not per se Egypt. All right. So this is something that we care to sit there and bring out for reference purposes. We went all the way, brothers and sisters, if we will, through the matter linguistically in Hebrew on purpose. So are there any questions or comments concerning the part right here that we've gone over? Please let me know. Thank you for that, family. Thank you to the brothers who have pressed the number 4 and so forth. All right. So now let us continue in this particular case. All right. The Ethiopian Sea and the Ethiopians. It says by 70 AD, there were thousands of Jews in Seleucia on the Tigris, which is the river, and in other Parthian cities. They were numerous in Arabia and crossed thence into Ethiopia. Now, according to one theory, brothers and sisters, it is said that the Falashas, who are called such by indigenous Ethiopians, or call themselves Beta Yisrael, they winded up going there, some say from the time of the Romans, some say from the time of Babylon, some say from the time of Assyria, some say from the time of when Solomon was ruling. So what we could perhaps ascertain is that they may have migrated there, maybe all those different times, depends upon what families were moving in the earth of the Israelites in that particular time. As a result of the sugar factories, there were so many Negroes in the island of Hispaniola that it resembled Ethiopia itself. So what, brothers and sisters, are we saying in this particular case? What we just read came from a citation in a book by Eric Williams called Documents of West Indian History. All right. As we just see right there, refer to that book. Now, where we got the 70 AD and about them crossing thence into Ethiopia, brothers and sisters, we got that from a book called Caesar and Christ by Will Durant. All right. So again, just want to point that out for reference purposes. All right. Any questions or comments? Again, please feel free to put within the chat. The Atlantic Ocean, as it is called today, at one time was called the Ethiopian Sea. And so the people, according to Laurent Bennett Jr., in his book, Before the Mayflower, that was brought over to the Western Hemisphere in captivity, were actually called by Europeans Ethiopians. So that was something. So that was something we care to bring out for reference purposes. All right. Thank you again for the time. You could be anywhere, but you're on this platform now and or later, and we ask you whatever channel that you're watching this on to sit there and family subscribe. All right. We here at Danitepublications do not say that we know everything. And yes, we are open to constructive criticism. Thank you for that, family. Oh, by the way, Eric Williams was the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago in the 1970s. The true Israelites were scattered in all directions. The slaves that were brought to America are descendants of those Israelites that were dispersed into Africa many years ago, about 2,500 years ago. If this is now the year 2026, brothers and sisters, we are talking about a matter of 2,000 years ago was, say, round off the year 0, round off, if we were to do it that way to the nearest 100th year. And 500 years before that would give you 500 BCE, round off. There were Israelite communities, brothers and sisters, in 430, 410 BCE in Egypt, in Elephantine, as we are showing in this particular matter here. Let's look. Cyrene, 125 CE. Israelites attempt to establish a Hebrew African empire. Roman suppression forces further Israelite migrations into Africa. Let's continue. Elephantine, 600 BCE. Israelites established a garrison, 70 AD. Romans conquer and enslave over 100,000 Israelites. Tamentit, 1492 CE. Ottoman Muslims destroy a 1,000-year-old Hebrew settlement. Ethiopia, 955 BCE. Menelik, son of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, establishes an Israelite dynasty that lasted almost 3,000 years. Brothers and sisters, I want to talk about that for a moment, if you will. It seems, and I say this not saying I know everything, brothers and sisters, but it seems that some Israelites, no disrespect intended, all right, have such an sad, for the lack of a better term, hatred toward Africa, that people would sit there and try to deny that the Queen of Sheba out of Africa, East Africa, and Solomon had a child. How does that prove anything? Of all the things, and I'm not here to slander Solomon or disrespect, of all the things Solomon has done regarding women, how, no disrespect to him, can we say that it is impossible for him, after the book of Kings says he gave the Queen of Sheba all her desire, to not for them to have a child? Just throwing that out there. You understand? But when hatred is there, when animosity is there, there is something, no disrespect intended, wrong with that kind of matter. And that is not healthy, brothers and sisters, to go into studies under that kind of spirit, to go into try to reason things out under that kind of spirit. Uganda, line of 33 kings tracing their lineage to King David, Uganda tradition. Libya, 640 CE, Israelite queen, Dia Kahina, organizes an army to defend against Roman and Arab incursions into North Africa. Kazembe, 1831 CE, Shemitic Africans whose king wears the mitri head wrap resembling that of the Israelite high priest. Marrakesh, 1000 CE to 1500 CE, Hebrews allowed to practice the Torah, Islamic period. Tangier, 1150 CE, Israelite sanctuary established by Bnei Musa, sons of Moses. Temnuria, medieval Hebrew state north of the Senegal River. Ghana, 300 CE, Hebrew dynasty established by Zat el-Yemeni, lasted about 1,000 years, finally known as Songhay Empire. Number 12, Lamlam, 12th century Hebrew kingdom, 200 miles east of Timbuktu. Al-Edrisi. Number 13, Niger River, circa 1850 CE, 7 princes descended from the kings of ancient Israelites. Fatasi tradition. This kind of matter, brothers and sisters, about Israelites in the scattering in regards with them being in African places, dating from the matter of BCE era to the matter of CE era, which is the common era as it's called. What can we say and ascertain and gather in that? It is quite impossible, looking at East or West Africa, to deny that Israelites, yes, have fled there in that particular case. See, what happens, and I say this in no disrespect, regarding, say, Christianity, in order for it to stand, the Israelites cannot be at a certain place and position. In order for Judaism to stand, Israelites cannot be at a certain place and position. In order for these ideologies to stand, the Israelites cannot be in, say, a certain position. What this channel in part attempts to promote is bringing forth truth that we feel, know, and understand has been suppressed. This comes from years of studying, and the honor goes, brothers and sisters, to our Maker, the Most High. So there are, yes, brothers and sisters, other Israelite teachers. There are, brothers and sisters, other Israelite platforms. And this channel supports other people's work and other people's platforms. Brothers and sisters, as other people's platforms and channels, I know and respect and support myself. So ultimately, brothers and sisters, is to give honor to our Maker, the Most High. Thank you for that. Let us continue, family. We are asking you to get your pens and pads. Deuteronomy 28, verse 52 says the following: "And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fortified walls come down, wherein thou didst trust throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee." This is another verse, brothers and sisters, that people attempt to state that Deuteronomy 28 cannot be speaking about, from verse 48 to verse 68, anything outside of even Rome, even though the Assyrians spoke about breaking down the walls in the land of Israel centuries before the matter of the Israelites and the Romans meeting. Now, we want to point this out, because it goes on to say, "We were besieged several strong times. Some of the nations were the Canaanites, the Philistines, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Arabs, the Ethiopians, the Egyptians, the Moabites, the Edomites, and the Americans." Now, what we care to point out, having read already, no disrespect intended, Deuteronomy 28 says, "All these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue and overtake thee." And so these are things, brothers and sisters, that we care to sit there and bring out for reference purposes. All right. So let us, brothers and sisters, continue. Thank you for that, family. "The siege made on the northern tribes of Israel was for 3 years. The capital was Samaria. Prior to that time, Hazael of the Arameans attacked the tribes of Gad, Reuben, and Manasseh. Now, the tribes of Gad, Reuben, and Manasseh, for those who do know, were on the east side of the Jordan. The Assyrian king Tiglath-Pileser III attacked Israel in 734 BCE, in which the tribe of Naphtali was taken captive. 2 Kings chapter 15. The successor of Tiglath-Pileser was Shalmaneser V, who ruled from 727 to 722 BCE. The siege he began was completed by his successor, Sargon II, this being in the year 722, 721 BCE. Again, family, if there are any questions concerning what we are talking about, please do not hesitate to put within the chat. Thank you for that, family. Get the book From Assyria to America. Sargon speak of taking captive of Samaria. When we go in the book Hebrew Wisdoms of West Africa, page 123, it is recorded as saying, I carried away 27,290 of its inhabitants. I collected there 50 chariots. The remnants of them I permitted to retain their goods, put my governors over them, and I laid the tribute of former kings upon them. What's being said there is that I put my governors over them. This goes to show that Sargon in the 8th century BCE did not take all of the Israelites, because that's stated there. And also when you go, brothers and sisters, in your own time, into the book of 2 Chronicles 30, it shows that there were Israelites still that would have been under the northern kingdom, brothers and sisters, that was still in the land of Manasseh and Zebulun and so forth. So let's look at this right here. Putting governors over the people is virtually no different than, brothers and sisters, putting the precinct in the Black community. That's essentially what happened and what that is talking about in that particular case. All right, let's continue, family. Get the book From Avaris to Alabama. These books you can get online. The Assyrians, even before this era, had a quote time with the Israelites. Yehu, king of Israel, paid tribute to Shalmaneser III. Brothers and sisters, if we will, Shalmaneser III in the 9th century AD, Shalmaneser III in the 9th century BCE, all right, spoke about that, if we will. Black obelisk of Yehu of Israel. It says here, the black obelisk of Shalmaneser III is a significant Assyrian artifact that features the earliest known depiction of Yehu, king of Israel, paying tribute to the Assyrian king. Now, many brothers and sisters have seen this, and this is it that we're looking at right here. That right there is that of King Yehu, shown bowing down to Shalmaneser III of Assyria. All right. So now there's a couple of things to point out. This goes to show that as the scriptures talk about Israel being plundered by the nations and Assyria being one, and the Assyrians talking about plundering the Israelites, though it's not the happiest relic to show, brothers and sisters, it cannot be denied that one, the Israelites existed, and two, in their existence, they had to go on somewhere unless they went completely off the face of the earth. And if they did not go off the face of the earth, and if there's a lot of history to chronicle between 1500 BCE and 70 AD, brothers and sisters, what happened to those people that were taken to Assyria? What happened to the people that were left in the land that Sargon said he put his governors over them? What happened to the people that were taken by Babylon? And what happened to the people that Nebuchadnezzar left as the poorest sort of the land? What happened to the people, brothers and sisters, that returned back from Babylon during the time of the Median Persian Empire? And what happened to the people that during the time of Antiochus of Greece, when it says that the Israelites fled to find any place for secure? Where did those Israelites go according to the book of Maccabees? So these are things, brothers and sisters, that we care to bring out for reference purposes. Now, as you may have seen, brothers and sisters, the books are advertised that you may see online from a verse to Alabama. All right? Let's continue. Let's see what it says. Jehoiakim, king of Israel, paid tribute to Adad-Nirari of Assyria. They paid tribute to avoid being besieged. We today pay rent to avoid the marshals from coming. The Assyrian king Esarhaddon, 681 to 669 BCE, recorded besieging Manasseh, king of Judah. Nebuchadnezzar is noted for taking captive of the tribes of the southern part, Levi, Benjamin, Simeon, and Judah, in the year 597 BCE. And in the year 586 BCE, Judea, the kingdom of Judah, was taken captive. Now, this goes to show, and we want to show of its importance. This is talking about from Assyria, as we see right here. And then this is talking about what happened when Assyria fell. And then we see Babylon coming up and what effect did it have on the house of Israel. All right. Are there any questions? Please feel free to put it in the chat. So we already know and understand that the Assyrians spoke about capturing the house of Israel. The Babylonians spoke about capturing the house of Israel. Now, for some, this may be redundant. For some, this may be a little repetitive. But there are others out there who may want the information. Now, in this regarding Danitepublications, I try my best to make sure I cite my sources. So you can go and get the book, Hebrewisms of West Africa. You can go and get the book, brothers and sisters, Hebrew Heritage of Black Africa by Moses Farrar. You can go and get the book, brothers and sisters, Documents of West Indian History by Eric Williams. You can go and get the book, 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro with Complete Proof. You can go and get the book, brothers and sisters, They Came Before Columbus by Ivan Sertim. You can go and get the book, brothers and sisters, Africa's Gift to America by J.A. Rogers. 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro with Complete Proof by J.A. Rogers. From Babylon to Timbuktu by Rudolph Wenzel, and a plethora of other books. So these are things, again, brothers and sisters, that we care to bring out. Let's continue. Get the book, Egypt Talking Writing. Sennacherib set up Ashur Nadin-Shumi, his son, as ruler of Babylon. Sennacherib was killed by his sons, other sons. Esarhaddon, his other son, was a ruler in both Assyria and Babylon. But he, in time, that is to say, Esarhaddon, set up his son Ashurbanipal as ruler in Assyria, and Shamash Shumukin as king in Babylon. Now, Ashurbanipal died in 627 BCE, and the Babylonians set up Nebuchadnezzar on the throne. Nineveh, the capital of Assyria, was attacked in 612 BCE. Babylon was coming up as an empire at the time. Nebuchadnezzar defeated Necho, who was the king of Egypt, in battle. Babylon was also defeated Tyre in time. In time, Babylon lost to the Persians. Now, what do we want to point out in this, in part, brothers and sisters, is this. Ashurbanipal of Assyria was like the last king of, say, the Assyrians, right? And what, again, can we point out? All right? Thank you for the time, family. Is this. Manasseh, not the son of Joseph directly, but King Manasseh of Judah, mentioned by Ashurbanipal. What do we see here? Manasseh of Judah and Ashurbanipal's records. It says Manasseh, king of Judah, reigned 697 to 643 BCE, is attested in Assyrian inscriptions as a loyal vassal to the Neo-Assyrian kings Esarhaddon and Ashurbanipal. Now, that is something, brothers and sisters, that we care again to have brought out for reference purposes. Why? Manasseh, brothers and sisters, was the son in the Bible of King Hezekiah. As King Hezekiah is mentioned by Sennacherib, brothers and sisters, so is his son mentioned by the relative of the Assyrian kings, who was the Assyrian king himself, by name Ashurbanipal. This is showing, again, as we spoke about Shalmaneser III and Jehu, king of Israel, we're now talking about the kings of Assyria in relation with the kings of Judah. Do we see how that history intertwines? There is, not to be disrespectful, any way, shape, form, or fashion that we can ever sit back and think that the land of Israel, the Holy Land that we read of, brothers and sisters, is in the West. All these events, talking about the Assyrians and so forth and so on. All these events, about the Assyrians and so forth, is things that we can prove and show happen in the lands of the East. All right, because that's another concept that has been talked about that we care at times to talk upon, not to disrespect anybody, but rather to help set the record straight. All right, so let's continue, brothers and sisters, in this manner. In 550 BCE, Cyrus II defeated Astyages of the Medes and annexed them. This is why by the time they come in contact with the Israelites, we see the term Medes and Persians. Eventually, after Cyrus's son, Cambyses took over Babylon and Egypt. The 27th dynasty of Egypt is Cambyses, Darius I, Xerxes I, Artaxerxes I, and Darius II. In 538 BCE, the Persian king Cyrus II defeated Nabonidus of Babylon, thereby annexing Babylon. So now we see Cyrus II, prior to the Medes and Persians really heavily coming in contact with the Israelites, the Persians had annexed the Medes. And then after that, they annexed Babylon. Thereby, it says the people of Judah, Benjamin, and a lot of the Levites that were in Babylon went back to the land. Wudo Windsor, in his book, as cited earlier, From Babylon to Timbuktu, speaks to the fact that after the Israelites in part were freed from the Babylonian captivity, some stayed under the Persian hegemony in modern southern Iraq. Some went back to Jerusalem, and some went to Egypt and became known as, quote, the Elephantine Jews. So now, brothers and sisters, the Bible itself in Isaiah chapter 11 in part speaks about 7 different lands that the Israelites were scattered to in, say, the timing of Isaiah, which predates the time, brothers and sisters, of Persia coming into being in rule. And those places are in what we call the modern day Middle East, places in Africa, and places in what is referred to as Western Asia, Ethiopia, Sudan, Egypt, the Isles of the Sea being the Mediterranean Sea, Babylon, Sumer, Akkad, those kind of areas, as you go by what is referred to as the River Tigris in the Euphrates. As you go, brothers and sisters, by the river Nile, as you go, brothers and sisters, by those kind of places. The Nile River, which is in Egypt, brothers and sisters, is mentioned several times in the scriptures. It's mentioned in the book of Genesis when it says about the Pharaoh in his dream. It is mentioned, brothers and sisters, in the book of Exodus when it speaks upon the matter of where the rod of Moses was to be put upon the river. It is mentioned, brothers and sisters, in the book of Ezekiel, where it said the king of Egypt said that I have created the river for myself. It is mentioned, brothers and sisters, in the book of Zechariah, where it speaks about the family of Egypt coming to keep the Feast of Tabernacles with the house of Israel in the future. So those are 4 times in which what we understand and know to be the Nile River mentioned in the scriptures. That river is in modern day Africa. So now when we see, no disrespect intended, some brothers and sisters in Israel despising, you may say, or hating upon Africa, we cannot do that. You cannot say, being in a position of light as an Israelite, say, I am not feeding no African. Joseph, the patriarch, fed Hamitic people. You understand when you understand what happened in the book of Genesis. So if we are to follow the good ancestors as far as their ways, so we can be good as well, then how can we teach, being the light of the world, that there's some people that you just won't, brothers and sisters, feed on purpose? That does not compute with righteousness. All right? So let's continue, brothers and sisters, in this manner. The Persian Empire was from 538 to 331 BCE. The Persians made Sheshbazzar a governor. In the book of Ezra, chapter 5, we see, in the gold and the silver vessels, also of the house of Elohim, which Nebuchadnezzar took out of the temple that was in Jerusalem, and brought them into the temple of Babylon. Those did Cyrus the king take out of the temple of Babylon, and they were delivered unto one whose name was Sheshbazzar, whom he had made governor. So during the time, brothers and sisters, of the Medo-Persian Empire, the Israelites were not having their own kingdom. There was no, quote, king of Israel or, quote, king of Judah when Persia was ruling. Israelites had governors. But the Medes and the Persians were more respectful of the Israelites than, say, Babylon was before, and certainly Greece was after. So let's continue. Now, for those interested, you can get any and all those books on Amazon by typing in the author name Y-E-S-H-I-A-H, Israel, Y-I-S-R-A-E-L. All right. Some of the citations that I put in this presentation come out of these books. All right, let's continue, family. Get your pens, pad, paper, and take notes. Check the description. The next people to attack the Israelites were the Greeks. After the death of Alexander, there were 4 rulers. They were Cassander, whom I believe and teach assassinated Alexander, but that's another subject. Seleucus, Ptolemy, and Antigonus. Alexander died in 323 BCE, and in the year 301 BCE, we see the war of Ipsus had Antigonus removed and replaced with Lysimachus as ruler in Babylon. The 2 of the 4 generals after Alexander, most important to Israelites, is Ptolemy and Seleucus. Antiochus III, a Seleucid, captured Jerusalem in 198 BCE. This is called, brothers and sisters, the Pinion Battle. The time before that, Jerusalem was held under the hegemony of the Ptolemies. Antiochus IV captured Jerusalem, being another Seleucid, in 168 BCE. The Maccabean revolt was from 168 to 142 BCE. To give an account of the Maccabees, let us do this. Screenshots are welcome. Judah Maccabee was a leader from 165 to 160 BCE. In the time of his leadership, the issue of the Bet Zur battle occurred. This war led to the institution of Hanukkah. Now, for my family, not to be funny, Hanukkah is something special to us because I know for me, Hanukkah was the time in which I was first brought as a baby to a congregation. The first time I was brought to an Israelite congregation as a baby, it was not on the Sabbath. It was not on any other set holy day. It was set on Hanukkah or set Hanukkah. All right, so just want to point that out. Jonathan Maccabee was leader from 160 to 142 BCE. During this time, the Greeks lost 2 wars to Rome, and Rome won 1 war, the Punic Battle 3. Simon Maccabee was leader from 142 to 134 BCE. After Simon passed, his son John Hyrcanus was leader. Now, in the book of Tacitus, Simon Maccabees is said to be a king. Let's continue. This is the same Hyrcanus, the son of Simon, that's to say Judas Maccabeus' nephew, who is noted in Josephus for making the Edomites convert to the ways of being Hebrew or Israelites. He was leader from 134 to 104 BCE. Also in that same era, Carthage, which was in Tunisia in North Africa, was rebuilt by Rome in 129 CE. The sons of John Hyrcanus were Judah Aristobulus, who was leader from 104 to 103 BCE. This is a lot of dates, as we said, but again, screenshots are welcome. And Alexander Jannaeus, who was leader from 103 to 76 BCE. A lady was ruler too in the era after Jannaeus, from 76 to 67 BCE. Her name, Salome Alexandra. The children of Salome and Alexander were Aristobulus, who was leader from 67 to 63 BCE, and then John Hyrcanus II from 63 to 40 BCE. By this time, Rome is heavy on the scene, and in 63 BCE, Rome makes Jerusalem a Roman province. Pompey was assassinated 48 BCE, but no one really missed him, to be candid. Tacitus records that Pompey was the first Roman to enter the Jerusalem temple, but noted that the Israelites in there had no images set up. Brothers and sisters, in due respect, we are going to continue this presentation as time goes on. We hope and we pray, brothers and sisters, that everybody is well. I spoke, as I close this out, with my little princess, and who is to be my son-in-law soon. And one of the things they said to me is, you speak well, you know a lot of history, but try. And they were reluctant, I believe, to come and say it, but I'm like, talk to me. Try not to feel you got to do everything in one particular time and not break things up. 1 hour there, a half hour there, 45 minutes there, an hour there. And I said, understood and respected. So in light of that, and having to deal with certain things regarding fam, if we will, important but not bad, we're going to, in this particular lesson, close it out and continue, brothers and sisters, where we left off. Where we left off at is at the death, brothers and sisters, of Pompey of Rome, if we will. And we spoke about Tacitus, the Roman historian. We will pick up where we left off. And again, screenshots are welcome. So, brothers and sisters, the telephone number I'm going to put there is 908 587 4841. All right. And brothers and sisters, for those who are interested, you can call, text, WhatsApp, so forth. All right. So again, we're going to play a song and we're going to close out. And then, brothers and sisters, subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. And so when we go live again with part 2 of this, you'll get the notification. Thank you for that, family. All right. Thank you, Brother Bergen Paris, for your help and assistance.
Oh